I don't know if this is allowed, but I never really liked the Muppets as a kid. I thought they were fine, but that's it. Just okay movies preventing me from watching Backyardigans. But then Ted Nivison made his video ranking every Barbie movie ever made, which was hilarious, by the way, link in description. And I thought, what's another insanely massive franchise I could do that with? And my mind said, well, Chloe, Waka Waka. So I watched all 22 Muppet movies this week to see if they're actually as good as everyone says. Mind you, I did lose my mind in this process, because now every single thing I hear reminds me of a Muppet. So please subscribe to give my pain purpose. Alright, so there's a lot of Muppet stuff out there, so first we have to establish what actually makes something a Muppet movie. I have only 2 requirements. It needs to be at least an hour long and have an actual plot. So no 30-minute Valentine's specials, no 30th anniversary special, those don't count. We also need to establish what the different levels of our tier list mean. We got A, B, C, D, and F tier. A tier is for movies that are genuinely good. B tier is ones that are worth at least one watch. C tier is ones I'd never willingly pick to watch, but if the power went out and it was the only thing I had downloaded on my iPhone, I wouldn't mind watching it. D tier is for ones that aren't painful to watch, but I'd rather be doing pretty much anything else. And F tier, burn it, die in a hole, I'd rather watch Morbius. Maybe not Madam Web.
He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died.
But definitely Morbius. We're gonna start off by looking at the classic OG Muppet movies, followed by the random character-focused ones, the parodies, obscure specials, and finishing off with New Age Muppets. We have a very, very Muppetful journey ahead of us, lads, so we're gonna start with the OG of OGs, 1979's The Muppet Movie. This was the first Muppet movie to actually be released in theaters, and it had some iconic moments like the songs Rainbow Connection, Moving Right Along. It tells the origin of the Muppets, which is basically that Kermit left his swamp to become a famous Hollywood actor, and on his way he picked up Fozzie, Gonzo, Miss Piggy, the whole Muppet crew. And, of course, there's a side plot where an evil businessman is trying to turn Kermit into a cannibal spokesperson for a frog leg restaurant. You know, just classic kids movie stuff.
Because all my life, I wanted to own 1,000 frog leg restaurants, and you're the key, Greenie.
And look, it's a good enough movie. I had a fine time watching it. It had some good bits.
Okay, everybody, drinks on the house.
I don't see no drinks up here. What you talking about?
But I do not think this is peak Muppets. I know a lot of people love this movie, but I don't get it, man. I'm gonna put it at B tier because there's a lot of important lore dropped in it, but we can do better. But oh boy, next we've got an absolutely wild film from start to finish. It's a very Muppet Christmas. We start at the end. It's Christmas Eve and Kermit is the saddest little frog lad you've ever seen. He's moping on a street bench and we learn that the Muppet Theater has just been lost. But then, we zoom out of the shot to see that our tale is playing on a TV screen. At first I thought this was going to be a whole movie in a movie moment, but nope. Daniel the Angel is watching the Muppets from Heaven's TV. Daniel is ratherly upset by Kermit's misfortune, so he goes to talk to God about fixing it. And apparently in Muppet Heaven, Whoopi Goldberg plays God, and I feel like this is definitely offensive, but we're just gonna ignore that and move on, because we've got too much Muppets for this man. So to convince Whoopi of Kermit's cause, Daniel rewinds the Heavenly TV so Whoopi can see Kermit's story from the beginning. It's mid-December, and the Muppets are rehearsing for their Christmas show. It's here that our main conflict is introduced, and it is so convoluted. Basically, the Muppets took out a loan to buy their theater, and the repayment date was Christmas Eve. But with that being the opening night of their Christmas show, Loan Guy extended the repayment so they could pay him with the ticket sales. But Loan Guy died, and the contract still says repayment is due Christmas Eve. So now his widow, Miss Bitterman, is demanding the Muppets pay her back by then. Kermit tries to explain the situation, but Bitterman doesn't care. She doesn't want them to be able to pay off the loan because she wants to repossess the theater and make it a nightclub. Also, she recruits Pepe to work for her company while she's there. And good gosh, guys, I did not realize how utterly convoluted this all is until I tried explaining it. As I was writing this script, I was beside myself. This is ridiculous. Kermit is determined to keep the theater, and Scientist Man figures out that if all the Muppets suspend their pay for an entire year, they can pay off the loan with that money plus the ticket sales from opening night. Everyone agrees to this and they move forward with the show. But Miss Bitterman hears about this, so she changes the contract so that the Muppets have to repay the loan by 6 p.m. on Christmas Eve, right in the middle of their opening performance, rather than midnight. That way, when the Muppets try to repay the loan, it'll already be too late in the day and she can repossess the theater, because that's how contracts work, right? But Pepe turns back to the light side and warns Kermit about the change in the nick of time. So in the middle of their first performance, Fozzie is sent to deliver the money to Bitterman. But Fozzie doesn't make it. And thus, we're back to where we started, with Kermit a sad, bench-ridden lad. But remember earlier when I said the movie started at the end? Yeah, that was a complete lie, because we're only halfway through the damn movie. You'd think we already had enough plot twists by now, but good gosh, this movie has more twists than something else with a lot of twists. I don't know, the Taco Bell cinnamon thing. Cause remember Whoopi and Daniel from heaven? Whoopi decides that something needs to be done and sends Daniel to Earth to help Kermit. Daniel tells Kermit he's there to help him get the theater back, but Kermit doesn't believe him. Instead, he starts spiraling and screams that he wishes he was never born. Pretty dark for a Muppet movie. And unfortunately, there's a rule in the Angel Handbook that if someone wishes they've never been born, the angel must comply, taking the person to an alternate universe where they've never been born. I don't know who wrote that rule, but I feel like they could have just not. However, it was this moment that I realized how bloody well dense I am, because it took me till right now to realize that this is an It's a Wonderful Life parody. So it should probably be in the parodies section of the video, but I make the rules, so shut up, you're gonna make me feel bad. So Kermit sees what the world would be like without him. Gonzo is a starving artist, Fozzie a homeless pickpocketer, Scooter a stripper, and Miss Piggy a phone psychic, pretending to be Jamaican. It's pretty not good. Kermit realizes that his friends are more important than the theater, so he retracts his wish, Daniel sends him back to the regular world, and Kermit tells everyone it doesn't matter that they've lost the theater, because they still have each other. But, good gosh, I'm being haunted by these twists, because then Pepe comes in and announces that he's gotten the theater approved as a historical landmark, meaning Miss Bitterman can't turn it into a nightclub. Bitterman then just decides she doesn't want the building at all, I guess, and the Muppets get to keep the theater. Do they still have to repay the loan? Who knows? This movie is already too long. Please free me. We wrap up with a speech from Whoopi about how all that matters is friendship, yada yada yada. So that was a lot. There are a few things I really liked from the movie that I do want to mention though, like when Kermit needs to recruit Miss Piggy for the Christmas show, it turns out she's working as an extra on the show Scrubs. I really like this part just because I bloody well love Scrubs, so I'm definitely real biased here, but I thought it was a great bit. And then the Christmas show itself is a parody of Moulin Rouge, which I also thought was pretty funny. There are some things I didn't like though, mainly just how utterly convoluted every single detail of the plot is.
Wait a minute, that can't be.
Oh, he does be.
This one was alright, I guess. It was pretty funny, but overall, I'd wish they'd come up with something more original. There's only 3 songs in its hour-and-a-half runtime, and it's the most convoluted movie I've ever seen. It's gonna be a C tier because it's still enjoyable, but we've got a lot of room for improvement. Now we turn to Muppets from Space, which has what is by far the weirdest opening scene of any Muppets movie. We're in the middle of the desert, and Noah is filling his ark with animals. At the end of the line is Gonzo, but when he gets to the front, Noah won't let him on because he doesn't know what species he is. Gonzo starts yelling, "I don't want to be alone," and then boom, he wakes up. And I'm being so straight up, this might be the best fake-out movie intro I have ever seen, because it's just so completely bizarre. Like, there is no way that you can see this opening and not be at least a little interested. Following this bizarre dream, though, Gonzo begins to feel like more of a misfit than ever before. It's always been canon that nobody knows exactly what Gonzo is,
We picked up a weirdo.
but it starts really getting to him now. So in the hour-and-a-half that follows, Gonzo finds out he's an alien, gets hunted and captured by the government, escapes to meet his alien brethren, and now at peace, stays on Earth with the Muppets. Now this premise sounds really interesting. There's a hell of a lot of potential here. I mean, Gonzo being an alien could have been baller. Sadly though, that potential is left completely untapped, like a maple tree in Montana. I hate to say it, but this movie just isn't good. There's not even a single song in it. I was actively bored watching this movie. I really wish it was better, but I gotta give an F, guys. But, oh ho ho, now we've got The Great Muppet Caper. And I wasn't expecting much from this one, but honestly, this movie really surprised me. It centers around Kermit, Fozzie, and Gonzo, who are all investigative reporters. When they hear that an infamous fashion designer has been robbed, they fly to London to interview her. But through a series of accidents and coincidences, they mistake Miss Piggy for the designer when she's actually her receptionist. More accidents and coincidunkalunks, and Miss Piggy is framed for robbing the fashion designer herself. And I'm not gonna tell y'all anymore, because I don't want to spoil it. I really think this movie is everything a Muppets movie should be. It's full of great songs like Happiness Hotel. It's self-aware, but not like Sunny D on Twitter aware. This one's actually funny.
How long are these opening credits?
Just about another minute or so.
Like, it had me doing some ha-has, guys. Those waka wakas hit different. I think you can really tell how much passion went into this one. It's an obvious A for me. I will say, though, there is a scene where a guy assaults Miss Piggy, and that was just completely unnecessary. To finish the OG Muppet era off, we've got The Muppets Take Manhattan. And I'm not gonna go through the whole plot, because all you need to know is that this movie is the definition of okay. Like when you ask someone how their day was, and they just say, okay. It's exactly like that. There's nothing bad about it really, but there wasn't anything great either. The songs were fine, it was original enough, there were plenty of different Muppets. It was just okay. It's so meh. It's gonna be a D tier, gang. I feel absolutely nothing towards this movie. But now let's switch it up by looking at Muppet movies about weird side characters. You know, the ones that don't focus on Kermit and the gang. First up, we've got the Great Santa Claus Switch. Imagine this. It's Christmas Eve, and Santa Claus is assigning his elves different toys to work on. They sing a jolly old song about how much they love making toys, and then everybody takes their lunch break. Because Santa believes in ethical forced labor. One elf skips his break, though. See, it's Fred's first Christmas making toys, and he is a hyped little lad. He even sings a whole song about how much he wants to help Santa. Apparently, Fred is going deaf, though, because while he's singing, Santa gets kidnapped in the loudest way possible. Like, Santa is very obviously being kidnapped right in front of him, and my man's Fred is not noticing a single thing. I am worried for both his hearing and vision. Please take him to the ER. I am begging you. Regardless, though, Santa is kidnapped by two henchmen of the one and only Cosmos Scam.
Cosmos Scam, King of Evil speaking, what do you want?
And it was actually probably the easiest kidnapping ever, because not only is Fred more oblivious than a walnut, but Cosmo's evil lair is also literally right under Santa's workshop. Though Santa's never heard of Cosmo before, and is verily confused as to why he would kidnap him, so Cosmo explained in the best way possible. A villain song. Through 60 seconds of piano-backed vocals, Cosmo reveals that he plans to disguise as Santa so he can steal his sleigh and rob people's houses on Christmas Eve night. Not because he wants money or anything, nothing like that. Gosh, guys, don't be idiots. He just wants to leave a mark on the world, and the only way he can think to do that is by making it so much worse. So stay tuned for my next video, where I kill my best friend's turtle to ensure they don't forget me when they move to Spain. After throwing Santa in his dungeon, Cosmo kidnaps all the elves and throws them in their own dungeon. While that's going on though, the elves are trying to escape from their dungeon by disguising it as rocks. Which I have a few questions about, but namely, how did they find hollow rocks to hide in? And it's never explained, so I'm just gonna assume that they sacrificed one of the elves to eat the insides of the rocks, and said elf will not be making it till next Christmas. I guess he'll die for a good cause though, cause while Cosmo goes to prepare Santa's sleigh for his robberies, the elves free Santa. Santa then, very easily, mind you, turns every single one of Cosmo's goons against him. Like, straight up, all he has to do is magically decorate the room for Christmas, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, we get it. So with the goons on his side now, the gang stops Cosmo, Santa goes to deliver his gifts, and we wrap up with a song about how much everybody loves Christmas. Despite its flaws, I honestly really like this movie. I wish I'd seen it as a kid. It has that nostalgic Christmas feeling that just captures the innocence of the season, and I'd really love it. The songs are a banger, the Muppets are really inventive, Gonzo made his first ever appearance. I'm gonna put this movie at A tier. It's definitely worth a watch this Christmas. But now it's time for everybody's favorite Muppet movie, The Tale of the Bunny Picnic. My family literally didn't believe me when I told them this was a Muppet movie. We open on a bunch of bunnies setting up a picnic. Shocking, I know, who would have guessed such a thing from the bunny picnic themed movie? And they are singing the most annoying song I have ever heard. Because it's this. But then they just keep singing that over and over and over and over again for the entire song. I don't even know if this counts as a song. There's like 2 other lines. Like, I was so annoyed listening to this when I watched this movie, guys. I don't even know why, but in that moment, it was the worst thing I had ever heard. Anywho, once the bunnies finish their song, we're introduced to 3 sibling bunnies, Twitch, Lugsy, and Bean. It's here we learn that Lugsy absolutely loathes Bean, for no reason whatsoever.
Lugsy, isn't there anything I can do to help?
Yes, there is. Huh? Leave.
Well, let me back up. There's supposed to be a reason. Lugsy won't shut up about it, actually. Bean is the youngest sibling, and Lugsy doesn't like him because he's too small.
Come on, Lugsy. He is our little brother.
Little is right.
The only problem with that is that Bean is the exact same size as every other rabbit in this movie. Like, could you not have made the puppet just a little smaller, guys? Bean even sings a whole ballad about how nobody likes you when you're small, but he's just not. Make fun of his clothes or something, at least he has those. Moving on though, after Lugsy bullies him, Bean goes to the woods to sing his ballad of tininess, and whilst there, he runs into a dog, and not wanting to be someone's lunch, Bean runs back home in fear. Personally, I'm in love with this dog, because the voice actor straight up just says bark.
Bark, 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 bark.
But it also doesn't want to eat me, so I can understand why Bean is scared. Back at home, Bean tries to tell everyone he saw a dog, but Lugsy keeps gaslight gatekeep girlbossing him into believing he never saw anything.
Oh, and did he have horrible teeth?
Yeah.
Oh, and horrible eyes? And horrible ears? Are you sure you weren't looking in the mirror?
The dog has a lock on Bean's scent now though, and he uses it to track down the bunny nest.
Hark! Do my doggy knees detect bunnies?
He finds them just as the Great Bunny Picnic is starting, and folks, you have never seen a group of bunnies so McFrayed. They even put Bunnytown on official lockdown. But Bean has an idea. See, just before the picnic was raided, the infamous storyteller bunny was telling the worst story I have ever heard. Here, I'll try to do it justice. It goes a little something like this. There was once a fox that kept eating hedgehogs until one day, a giant hedgehog came and told him that wasn't nice. So the fox stopped. I am not leaving out a single detail, that is the entire story. But Bean wants to do that to the dog, so he gets the whole town together to make a giant bunny costume, and they confront the dog by telling him he's not being very nice. The dog then apologizes and moves in with the bunnies, the bunny picnic is resumed, and everybody has a jolly happy time. This movie is interesting. I've definitely never seen anything like it before, but the songs kind of suck, and I do wish we got to see some Muppets other than just the 1,000 bunnies. Overall, I'm gonna put it in C tier, because I do honestly think the story is really fun, but it is not something you have to see. It's time to take the sharpest downhill, though, with the Muppet Musicians of Bremen. This movie starts with Leroy the donkey getting home after robbing a train with his owner, Mordecai Sledge. And apparently, Mordecai is the worst robber ever, because even though he went through all the trouble to bloody well rob a train, he did not pay attention to a single thing he was taking. Just now realizing that the only things he took were instruments. Which would be fine, because, like, resell, right? Muppets gotta have eBay. But I have never seen a man angrier at a banjo. He decides that this blunder is Leroy's fault, because you know how those darn donkeys are always tricking you into stealing tubas, and that he's gonna shoot him. Thieving farmer man went from 0 to 100 real quick. But understandably, Leroy doesn't really want to get shot, so he runs away before Mordecai gets the chance. After he runs away, Leroy has a brilliant idea. He's gonna become a traveling musician to gain fame and escape homelessness.
They'll give me things to eat and places to sleep at night, and they'll just love me.
Leroy starts singing about his great tuba ambitions, but it isn't long before he runs into TR, a runaway rooster. Why did he run away, you may ask? Well, he was too tired to crow one morning, which made his owner miss breakfast. And this guy takes the whole breakfast is the most important meal of the day thing very seriously, because he also decided to kill TR for not crowing. Like, what's up with these guys killing their animals? If they keep doing this, they're not gonna have a farm anymore. It's just gonna be a lot of grass with animal corpses. Apparently, though, TR stands for Traveling Rooster, so he joins Leroy's traveling band as a banjo player. Next, they run into Joe Rover, a dog who says his owner, Floyd, kicked him out because he was too old. Through a flashback scene, though, we discover that this is not at all true. Floyd kicked him out because the dog attacked him. He accidentally stepped on his paw, and this dog absolutely went off. Like, this poor man was so scared. And sure, okay, maybe throwing Joe out the window was a bit of an overreaction, but I don't think I'd want to keep him either. But Joe sells Leroy and TR on his lying little sob story, and they have him join the band as a trombone player. Then they pick up a cat who also got thrown out a window by her owner, and she joins the gang as a trumpet player. Now that the band is complete, they go look for a family to take them in, end up stealing a house instead, and that's the end of the movie. So, moral of the story, if you're homeless, start a band and steal a home? I gotta say, I do not like this movie at all. Actually, the more I think about it, the more I just hate it. Because it is such a bad take on such a great trope. Like, I love found family tropes. I think some of the best movies are found family. But this one puts no effort into actually building the family. Like, even Lemonade Mouth did found family better. It's an F, guys. Just buy me a ticket to Morbius. I'll take Madam Web over this, okay? I could really use a movie that doesn't make me want to strangle the past version of me that thought this video would be a good, fun idea though, so let's hope Emmet Otter's Drug Band Christmas is a little bit better. This one definitely has a very different vibe, as it opens with the one and only Emmet Otter singing a song with his mom about how fat his grandma was before she died. I wish I was kidding, but they're straight up singing about how her bathing suit was so big it looked like a circus tent. Like, what are they doing here? And they go on to spend the first 10 minutes of the movie talking about how poor they are.
Is that all the errands we have to do?
Nope. But it's the end of the money we have to do them with.
Now that we are amply informed of their poverty, though, Emmet's friend tells him about a talent show the city is holding that has, and get this, a $50 prize. Apparently in Otter money, $50 is a lot of money, because everyone is absolutely shooketh by this prize. So much so that Emmet starts a jug band with his friends so he can enter, and his mom enters separately as a singer. Neither Emmet nor his mom know the other is signed up for the competition, but they both want to win so they can get each other Christmas gifts. Of course, eventually they find out they're both in the competition, but it doesn't really matter because neither of them win anyway. Some random rock band does. Just when they're about to give up though, a rich philanthropic frog offers the jug band a job performing at his restaurant, and they all live happily ever after. This movie is alright, like it happened, I saw it. It seems like a movie my grandma would call cute. I'm gonna put it in C tier because it's not astounding, but it does have something going for it. It's 1,000 times better than Musicians of Bremen, that's for sure. Our last side character themed Muppets was quite unexpected though, because to sum it up, it's Toy Story. Toy Story came out 9 years after this movie, and I truly think it might have ripped off this obscure Muppet special that is the Christmas toy. We've got the whole toys are alive when you're not there. The main character is trying to prevent another toy from becoming the favorite. Everyone else is telling him to get the bloody hell over it. All we're missing is a Randy Newman song. This also might be the darkest Muppets yet, because it's the first one where they can actually die. If a parent touches a toy, they just stop moving, and the others call them frozen, but I'm pretty sure they just have no concept of death. Honestly, I think I might put it in B tier just because I need people to weigh in on whether Toy Story just absolutely ripped this movie off. If you've seen this movie, please let me know what you think in the comments. For now, let's return to our OG Muppet crew and take a look at Muppet parody movies, starting with their first ever parody, Hey Cinderella. This one opens with Prince Charming's dad pushing him to marry, because he's getting bored, so instead of just, like, learning to paint, he forces his son into marriage so he can throw a ball? I don't know why he can't just, like, throw a ball for fun. Like, he's the king, I don't really think he needs a reason. But hey, maybe I'm a frog, because who cares what I think?
Who listens to a frog?
True.
After the king tells him he has to get married, the prince goes to tend to his garden. I'm not really sure why he's gardening, because he kind of seems to hate it.
I'm a terrible gardener. The only things that grow in this mud are the geraniums.
And he also sucks at it. I mean, even Kermit is bullying him for it.
Know something?
What?
It's lucky you're a prince, because you'd never make it as a gardener.
But anywho, he meets Cinderella while she's walking in the garden, and is shocked to find out that she doesn't know who he is. He accidentally pulls a "Do you know who my father is?"
You haven't seen my picture on the money?
And honestly, I gotta agree with him, because how the frick does she not know what the prince looks like? I mean, I don't even know what to compare that to. It'd be like if someone thought FNAF was based on a true story.
That should be a game.
It is a game.
That is. It is?
We were unfortunately lying.
It's made up.
There's no Bite of 83.
See what I did there, guys? Hashtag jokes. Since Cinderella doesn't know who he is, like any completely normal person would, he creates a fake identity and says he's Arthur the gardener. They fall in love over a little garden banter, and Arthur invites Cinderella to the ball. But there's one problem. It's gonna be a masquerade, so how are they gonna recognize each other? Maybe they could just, like, meet outside first? Or tell each other what masks they're gonna be wearing? Oh, okay, nope, they're just gonna wear a flower on their outfits? Yeah, no, that doesn't seem like it can go wrong in any way. That's not our only problem, though, because the night of the ball, Cinderella's stepmother points out that she can't go. She's just an ugly little hag.
Be kind with your words, please.
So Cinderella starts singing a weirdly menacing song.
I'd walk in the palace.
And accidentally summons her personal fairy godmother. Well, more like her personal failed magician, because throughout the movie there's just been random clips of this lady absolutely bombing a magic show.
I will turn this pumpkin into a beautiful horse-drawn coach.
And we literally see her get to Cinderella's house by messing up a magic trick. So I'm kind of convinced she isn't a fairy godmother and is just off her rocker. Failed magician lady still manages to get Cinderella her dress and all though, so Cinderella goes to the ball only to discover that the king's giving all the guests complimentary flowers for coming. So now she has nothing to recognize Arthur by. Who would have ever guessed that plan wouldn't work, gang? So we do the obligatory two people meet, but they look slightly different, so they don't recognize each other at all thing. And dude, side rant, I hate this trope so much. Like, you're telling me these things make you unrecognizable? These things? How far does the logic go? Like, if I put on a baseball cap, will my sister tase me because there's a stranger in the house? It just makes me angry, man. It makes me angry. But you guys know what happens next. The prince dances with Cinderella all night. She has to leave before the spell wears off. The prince tracks her down. They learn each other's true identities. And ta-da, marriage happy time. I honestly enjoyed this movie. It has a lot of good bits in it.
And before you go to bed, remember to turn off that lamp. Thank you.
But as a Muppets movie, this one's going straight to F. Because first off, there are like no Muppets in it. Cinderella's a human, the stepmother's a human, the prince is a human, the fairy godmother's a human. To call this a Muppet movie is a disgrace to the Muppet community. And as for songs, there are none. Cinderella sings one about wanting to go to the ball, but that's it. Like, look, I expected a musical extravaganza, and all I got was 54 Muppetless minutes of yapping. So sharks, for that reason, I'm out. Moving right along though, we've got Muppet Treasure Island, and I'm not going to run through the whole plot of this one. It's based off a book. If you've seen Treasure Planet, it's basically that, but with Muppets. And speaking of Muppets, I've got the same problem with this as I do with Hey Cinderella, and that is that it is barely even a Muppet movie. Are there lots of Muppets? Sure, Kermit, Miss Piggy, Sam the Eagle, Gonzo and Rizzo, this guy, but they're all side characters. Our main characters are Jim and Long John Silver, and this is them. These don't look like Muppets to me. Seriously though, the best parts of this movie are when it's just the Muppets talking.
Oh, Mr. Bimbo lives in my finger.
But a human always comes on screen and it just becomes meh. And let me be clear, Tim Curry is absolutely incredible in this movie. It's just the wrong movie for Tim Curry to be incredible in. Bad Muppet to human ratio, but still tolerable, I guess. D tier. I swear it gets better though, because our next parody is The Muppet Christmas Carol. And I'm just gonna say it, A tier. I did not think I was gonna like this movie as much as I did, especially since it was the 13th bloody Muppet movie I'd watched in 4 days, but it's really good. Michael Caine acts his bloody little heart out as Scrooge, and even though the main character is human, it doesn't fall prey to the same traps as other parodies. I think it's because of Gonzo and Rizzo. They act as narrators through the movie, and they perfectly balance the seriousness of it with their comic relief. We've still got one last parody though, and that's The Muppets Wizard of Oz. I'm gonna assume most of y'all know The Wizard of Oz, so I'll skip the plot summary, but there are some things I want to mention. First off, the opening scene is just chef's kiss. It was made in 2005, and you can tell. It is the most early 2000s music video vibe possible, and I'm in love with it for that. They really want us to know that this is no normal Wizard of Oz parody. This is a hip Wizard of Oz parody. So we open it with a pop rap song about how Dorothy wants to get out of Kansas. Then we see some small town life before the tornado comes, but right as Dorothy is climbing into the storm shelter, she realizes she forgot Toto. And I get it, dogs mean a lot to people, okay? But Toto is a fish! Guys, Dorothy risks her bloody life to save a fish! A fish! Like, I've never had a fish, okay? But is anybody that bloody well attached to a pet fish? Don't they die in like a month? Moving on though, this joke is made later, which I'm not sure who cleared.
What do these do? Nothing, they're my nipples.
And when I saw that, I thought, whoa, that's not very Muppet appropriate. But then something so much worse happened. See, in this version, Dorothy wants the wizard to make her famous, not send her home. So before she sees the wizard, she's put through a makeover machine to make her look the part. And guys, when she goes through the makeover machine, they turn her white. I don't even know what to say about this. I cannot believe this was allowed. She goes through the machine again and they turn her back, but like, that still happened. And to make it worse, here's another joke from the movie.
We must obey any order you give us. Yeah,
like you can have everyone spank me and call me names.
So, yeah, F. I actually did enjoy it, but I think they took the edginess of the Muppets way too far in this one. If you want to see a Wizard of Oz parody, please just watch the Phineas and Ferb one. But we're in the final stretch now, gang. And our last two categories are Obscure Specials and New Age Muppets. So starting with Obscure Specials, let's take a look at Rocky Mountain Holiday, a Christmas special featuring John Denver. This one's pretty odd, because there's barely even a story, it's kind of just there to flex John Denver. But I mean, who can blame them? I'd flex John Denver if I had him too. I did still include it, because even though it's lackluster, there is some semblance of a story, with the Muppets taking a camping trip with John Denver and teaching Robin how to camp. There's not really much more to say on this one. I'm just gonna put it at the top of D tier because it is yet another Muppetless Muppets. Pretty much just a really long John Denver music video. It doesn't quite deserve an F though, because the first 15 minutes are pretty Muppetful, and there's a lot of good bits in that time, before it turns into a John Denver concert. Next up, we've got The Muppets at Walt Disney World, which starts out pretty promising. Then again, so did Rocky Mountain Holiday. Kermit is bringing the gang to his family swamp for the annual Frog Festival, and while no one really wants to be there, they want to support Kermit. That is until one of Kermit's family members mentions that Disney World is just behind the swamp, and they immediately abandon him. Now all the Muppets want to go to Disney, and since none of them have tickets, Animal just breaks them in, which I'm pretty sure makes this the Muppets' first crime, and everybody goes gallivanting around the parks. They break into groups for the rest of the movie, with Fozzie and his mom trying to find food, Scientist Guy trying to get a bucket off Beaker's head, Gonzo and Camila finding love in a laundromat, etc. And look guys, let's cut to the chase here. This is just an hour-long Disney World ad. It's the Emoji Movie of the 90s. I kept watching it hoping something actually interesting would happen, but really I just want that hour of my life back. It's an F tier. Our next special is Muppet Family Christmas, and I think this is exactly what a Christmas special should look like. The premise is pretty simple. Fozzie Bear's taking the whole Muppet gang to surprise his mom for Christmas so she won't be alone. Holiday hijinks ensue with the Sesame Street gang showing up, Swedish Chef trying to cook Big Bird for Christmas dinner, Gonzo fighting with a turkey over Camila, Fozzie making a comedy act with his snowman, all those good shenanigans. Shenanigans of which my personal favorite is when the Sesame Street gang first shows up, and Bert and Ernie keep telling this guy what letter different words start with, like they're trying to teach him the alphabet. I think this movie is really fun. You get to hear the Muppets covering classic Christmas songs and see not only the Sesame Street gang, but also the Fraggle Rock crew and the Muppet Babies, and it's just really sweet. While I can't in good faith say it's an A, I'm definitely gonna put this one at B tier. If you like the Muppets at all, you should definitely watch it at least once. It brings out my southern grandma. It warms my heart like a green bean casserole. Oh, and I'm also gonna throw Kermit Swamp Years in here, because I'm not sure where else to put it, and just F. I'm not gonna waste your time with it. All you need to know is this guy has a fetish for killing frogs. At least Morbius would be fun to mock. Now we're on to our final section, New Age Muppet movies. Oh my gosh, Chloe, we're so excited. We've liked this video. We're so excited, Chloe, oh my gosh. Guys, you're too kind. You're too kind. Oh my gosh, thank you. These are Muppet movies that were made after Disney bought the franchise. The first one was Muppets of Oz, and we all saw how that went. Unfortunately, Disney's second Muppets, Letters to Santa, is not much better. The best way I can explain it is that it's not a Muppet movie, it's a movie with Muppets. Like, there's no reason the characters need to be Muppets. This might as well have been written as a normal movie that they just decided to throw Kermit in last minute. And even if it did seem like an actual Muppets movie, it's not good. F tier. Luckily though, Disney's newest Muppet special, Muppets Haunted Mansion, doesn't seem to have run into that problem. Their premise is as simple as it gets. Gonzo and Pepe go to the Haunted Mansion and they get haunted. And I think having this basic of a premise allowed them to actually have a bit more fun with the characters, but it's still not that great. I'm gonna put it in C tier with the one caveat that if you're already a big Muppets fan, it's worth a watch. In 2011, though, between Muppets Haunted Mansion and Letters to Santa, Disney made The Muppets. Not to be confused with 1979's The Muppet Movie, this is a 2011 movie with Jason Segel, otherwise known as How I Met Your Mother Man. The movie centers around Muppet Walter and his human brother Gary. I don't want to question how a human woman gave birth to a Muppet, and I guess no one else does either, because as a Muppet in a human's world, Walter grows up a misfit. A Pete's Coffee swimming in a sea of Starbuckses, if you will. Until one day, Walter stumbles upon the classic 1970s Muppet show. It changes his life. I mean, he finally feels like he belongs somewhere. That is until the Muppets disband. But when an evil businessman decides to tear down the abandoned Muppet Theater, Walter knows he has to do something about it. He has to save the Muppets. A lot more happens, but I'm not gonna tell you any of it. You literally cannot make me, because you need to bloody well watch this movie. Like, I'm serious, this movie is incredible. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on my 22nd Muppets movie. I'm not losing it at all. I'm not crazy, she's crazy. I love this movie. I'm creating a new tier for it. This is S tier. This is peak Muppets, and I should know, I've watched a lot of Muppets this week. Beautiful, stunning, I'm in love. Go watch this movie. Preferably finish this video first, but go watch this movie. The Muppets has a sequel though, and that's Muppets Most Wanted. It takes place right after the last one, like right after the last one, with the Muppets wondering what they're gonna do next. In a very meta moment, they realize they're in a sequel movie, and as this line sadly foreshadows,
the sequel's never quite as good.
An agent named Dominic Bad Guy shows up, bet you can't see where this is going, and convinces them to go on a world tour, so they go to Germany. But then we learn that, shockingly, Dominic Bad Guy is evil and working with the world-renowned frog thief Constantine. They frame Kermit for his crimes, Constantine becomes a Kermit imposter, hijinks ensue, etc. Now, I gotta say, this movie would probably be C tier if not for Sam the Eagle and Ty Burrell as Jean-Pierre Napoleon. Jean and Sam are detectives trying to catch the criminal who turns out to be Constantine, and they are, without a doubt, the best part of this movie. I mean, come on, you throw Phil Dunphy into the Muppets and you've got perfection, my guy. Especially with their song Interrogation Song, like, you gotta see it. Your boys are bringing in a B. I'd recommend giving it a watch if for nothing else than Sam the Eagle and Ty Burrell. And that's it. We've ranked every single Muppets movie. If you like this video, please take a minute to leave a comment and consider subscribing. At the end of this journey, I think the Muppets hold up. Not entirely, but...
Shut up! You're all gonna die! Street smart!
So thank you guys so much for watching, and rest well knowing, Kermit is always watching. Always watching.